Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, but since this is one of our special edition short episodes, we don't have time to record one of our comedic adult content warning masterpieces. I mean, we could have, in about the same amount of time it took to tell you we wouldn't, but we didn't. So there. Listener discretion is advised.
Let's say I don't die in a crash with bigger stars than me, and I actually get an obituary. I've lately thought that it probably is going to read actor Kevin Bacon, dead, no Oscars, but at least he has a game named after him. The 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. In case you haven't heard of this game, the idea is that any actor alive or dead can be connected to me through our work in 6 steps or less.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the New Way podcast, where we break down pop culture so you don't have to. These shorter, more bite-sized episodes will feature spotlights on locations, directors, actors, actresses, writers, and more. Less preamble, more amble. We're also still in the midst of the coronavirus lockdown, so we are practicing safe social distancing, which means I am alone in the studio by myself, but I do have my co-hosts, Mr. Benjamin Wilson and Mr. Nicholas Santa Croce, Skyping in. How's it going, guys?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Lovely. I like
loving the time of Corona, baby.
We have actually switched to Zoom, and both Ben and Nick have gone with animated backgrounds. No, I guess Ben's got just a regular old background. But
so, if you listening at home were wondering if this new format would give us more focus, not being distracted by the people in the same
dead
room,
wrong.
Quite the opposite.
So now we have virtual backgrounds and a soundboard.
Yeah, I thought maybe
what could possibly happen?
Maybe it could make things better, but we can't have special toys.
I like when I move though. It makes me look like I'm poorly animated from Tron.
Shape shifting. So this special edition today is one of our 6 Degrees episodes, and we are chosen actress Rosario Dawson. I kind of just did like a brief little bio run on Rosario just to kind of catch everyone up. I'm sure most people know who she is as an actress. She was discovered at 15 by Harmony Korine and Larry Clark. How's that for a duo to find you?
What?
You did not know that?
Harmony Korine?
And Larry Clark.
Humpers?
Yes. They discovered her and put her in
Wow.
Kids. It was her first movie. She was sitting on someone's porch, and I fully expect Ben distracted me again, but I was just gonna
Ben is changing its background to a office. Like I picked a Tron-esque 80s vaporwave.
I was about to say it looks like
animated
Tron.
background.
I was sure
Animated background.
I was sure he was changing it to the I was sure he was changing it to the Nostradamus,
Hey,
and he was going to
one
be
at
an
a time,
alien.
These virtual blue screens are something else on Zoom. I'm sure everyone else has experimented with them, but they are wild.
I think I'm just going to turn my virtual background off. I think I'm going to go the Matt route.
Yeah, it is very
Ben
distracting.
doesn't own any ferns, so now he can look as if he's in an office with a plant. Rather
Wonderful.
than just an office.
Wonderful. So Dawson got started with 2 very weird people to get her into filmmaking, and thank God she made it outside of the Harmony Korine Larry Clark loop.
Do you think?
Well,
do you
I
think
mean,
she
however-
was inside.
Well, no, go ahead.
Do you think she was inside one of the masks in Trash Humpers? Do you think maybe that was her first gig, and Harmony let her test out?
I think
role?
about 1.5 people got that reference.
No.
Well, listen, if I do nothing this podcast, I hope it's to convince our listeners to check out Harmony Korine's Trash Humpers.
Oh, Lord.
You thought Spring Break was his magnum opus. Ooh, you'd be wrong.
I think it's Spring Breakers.
This is true. What were you going to say, Ben?
I was going to say it is actually very interesting. I actually like the movie Kids a lot, but both Rosario Dawson and Chloe Sevigny came from Kids and became kind of indie darlings for the rest of their lives, which I found, but also actresses that are well known for being talented and can kind of skirt the line between like being supporting and mainstream. and
Sure.
then having the clout to kind of do their own thing as well.
Well,
So I find it really
Rosario has made the jump. Chloe Sevigny, I guess the closest she got was what, Big Love for mainstream.
She's done a lot.
She's been done a lot.
I'd have
she's done
to
a
go over
lot
her
of movies.
whole
You called
career,
you
but-
called
they-
them. Wait, hold on. What I'm saying is you called them indie darlings. What I'm saying is I feel like out of the two, Rosario has taken the jump to. She mostly does mainstream stuff now for the most part.
I mean, she's done mostly video games for the last 10 years.
She's gonna be in The Mandalorian. She's all over Marvel, Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah, I think
She's in Daredevil and Iron Fist.
Yeah, I think well, and we'll get there. We don't need to argue whether she's indie
All
or
I was
mainstream.
guys, all I was literally saying is out of the two, Chloe Sevigny is the more indie artist, and we turned it into an argument somehow. And I know you agree with me.
I don't. I would kind of put them on level footing.
Why
don't we talk on that point,
guys? Can we just focus on our topic, which is the Chloe Sevigny 6 Degrees episode?
That's what I was about to do.
Okay, I'm you two. I'm not even trapped in a room with you, and I can't handle this right now. But
I'm just messing.
No, it's what's interesting. So she does Kids. One movie later, she's in a Spike Lee movie, He Got Game. Like she makes the leap like very quickly into working for some really impressive directors.
It was a few years later, wasn't it?
It was
like
one.
3
She
years
did
later.
one movie in between. Like that was it. It was literally she did Kids.
But Kids came out in 95 and He Got Game came out in 98. I know that for sure just because I saw he Got Game in the theater.
Yeah. I'm just saying there was
my mom.
It's so she does Kids and then she does one other thing and then she shows
He
up
Got
in
Game in the theater with my father, and it was 1999. Ben, I bet my life on it.
It's 98. It is 98. It is 98. No, I'm just my goodness, guys. Everyone just like take a half a step
The reason
back.
why that joke is funny is just because imagine watching He Got Game as a 15-year-old in the theater with your mother.
Yeah, that's a better story.
I watched He Got Game in the theater with your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I knew that was coming. No,
but it was a re-release. It was a great 35 millimeter print. It was a lovely evening.
There we go. So it's interesting. It's kind of interesting to watch sort of that trajectory because really what happened is she worked with a lot of big directors, but she always went back to indie, and it's kind of like she would kind of one for them, one for you, and kind of builds up this filmography, which is what we're going to kind of get into. But I mean, she's worked with Oliver Stone. She worked with Tarantino a few times. She worked with Kevin Smith a few times. She worked with Spike Lee a few times.
Because she's an indie darling.
Yeah, I mean, He Got Game was not. I mean, Spike Lee is an indie filmmaker, and I would say Kevin Smith and Spike Lee and Tarantino are indie filmmakers.
I don't know. I think I disagree with you on that, Matt, and I'll tell you why. Just kidding. Go ahead, Matt.
I know that you're messing, but. No, I one of the things that I found really interesting about if you look at her filmography is because, like I said, she skirted that line between sort of mainstream and indie. I think her indie cred got her through the fact that she was in a lot of mainstream bombs. Like she was one of the Pussycats, and Josie and the Pussycats was like considered one of the worst like mainstream. I think it was.
I have a soft spot for Josie and the Pussycats.
At one point, it was at one point it was like the lowest grossing. Like on as many screens it had been released, was the lowest grossing movie of all time in 2001.
It was a monumental bomb. Although it's funny, it was on like Stars maybe 2 months ago or something. It just happened to be on, and I'm like I'd never really watched it, and I was watching it. And I'm like, oh, it's actually sort of self-aware, ahead of the game a little bit. It knows exactly what it is. I just don't think that anybody cared.
I mean, but it's nowhere near like The Adventures of Pluto Nash or
which she did. Or no, she did. She was in Pluto Nash. Yeah. That's a bad one.
I'm just saying that there were quite a few bad movies that she was in, but I think that her ability. I think that obviously you saw what she had done in a lot of other movies, and she had built up a lot of a good reputation between that. But also, I think her championing independent film, she became sort of insulated from the way that, like, if you were like a starlet, like some of these up and coming girls, and they get a lead role in something like Josie and the Pussycats. You look at the other girls who are Pussycats in that movie.
Yeah.
They don't have a career anymore. And so I do think it's interesting because it shows the power of, like, you know, if you walk that line a little bit and you choose projects that are obviously passion projects, I think that gives you a little bit more credibility in everybody's eyes and gives you that chance to sort of bounce back where you're like, yeah, I did that for a paycheck, you know, or, you know, it was fun to work on, but now I'm going to do this passion project.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I mean, obviously I don't know who her agent is or anything, but part of it is also the sheer volume of what she was doing. It sort of all even itself out. So you look at 2002 alone, she's in 6 movies that year of varying degrees of success and being known. So Ash Wednesday, the first 20 million is always the hardest. Men in Black 2.
Oh, Love and the Time of Money too.
Yeah, Adventures of Pluto Nash, Love and the Time of Money, and 25th Hour. So she's got, you know, 3 or 4 somewhat solid movies in there. She's got Men in Black, which was a big hit at the time. You know,
the second one.
Yeah, the second one. I mean, it's kind of interesting, sort of how she goes, and I'm kind of curious. For you, Nick, what was the first thing you actually remember, kind of like realizing this person was in, or recognizing her in?
No idea.
No idea. Nothing. She just like.
I don't remember. Next question.
Okay, Ben, do you have a particular property that you kind of?
I mean, I remember
all of a sudden kind of started watching her.
No, I remember seeing her, I think, in like one of those rom-coms that she did in the late 90s, or like one of the other, like Down With You. I forgot what it was. But I remember thinking, oh, that's the girl from Kids. Because I like Kids.
What year did you see it? And was it in the theater? And who did you see it with?
No, it was definitely something I saw on video or on HBO or something along those lines.
Down to You with Freddie Prinze Jr.
I'd actually forgotten that she was in He Got Game. But yeah, so I just remember it was Down to You. Yeah, that's what it was. I think it was Down to You. But I remember thinking, oh, this is that girl.
Was it the matinee or was it an evening show?
I don't remember, Nick. Thank you for keeping the joke alive. But no, I think
you're welcome.
That I didn't know anything about her, and I don't remember her, but I think that just the fact, like what you said, Matt, is she just saturated the market for a while. And also, when I saw 25th Hour, I was just like, she is so phenomenal in that movie, and I love that movie so much. I still think it's Spike Lee's best movie, second best movie behind Do the Right Thing.
What year was that? I'm not being a smartass. What year was that?
25th Hour was 2002. That was part of that, like where she was in these like 6 movies.
I think that was it. I think that was my first.
Yeah.
And it's
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, and I think I remember seeing her in all of those movies more in retrospect. I think for me it was, oddly enough, it was The Rundown. And The Rundown is a really fucking fun, silly movie. Peter Berg.
It's one of Peter Berg's best movies, honestly.
It may be the one Peter Berg movie I actually like. I was trying to think if I like other than Friday Night Lights, obviously.
I really like Friday Night Lights. I actually do kind of like the movie, his Middle East movie with Jamie Foxx and.
That's actually pretty good.
It was pretty decent.
But if you're not seeing The Rundown's great. It's Sean William Scott, The Rock, Christopher Walken, and Rosario Dawson, all playing peak to their strengths, like to a T. It's a really just, every one of them is almost effortlessly just playing. This is Rosario Dawson, the hard bartender, adventure girl. This is Sean William Scott, the fuck up. Like, everyone is just it knows these roles so well, but it's hard to actually make those work really well in a movie. I definitely dig that one. That's where I kind of started to notice her. And then I remember seeing Alexander, which is a mess of I don't know if you guys have seen the Alexander.
Oh, I saw Alexander at the theater with our friend Ulrich Kraft. Wolf Kraft. Yes, real name from film school, because we were excited about seeing an Oliver Stone epic, movie.
And the cast in that movie is like this sprawling cast. With when
Angelina
Val
Jolie,
Kilmer was
Val
still
Kilmer,
making, it's crazy, and it's a mess of a movie. It is, and I've heard that maybe the director's cut has some other stuff, but I remember she's really good in it, and plays very well off of Farrell. But she's also, you sort of realize that she's a very stunning actress as well, like just
of
absolutely
course.
beautiful actress.
And then she was in Sin City, and that was a big thing. Playing Gail, playing this huge, like, not a femme fatale, not somebody, but just a badass, like a killer, a straight up just, I run a harem of assassins and we're here to just fuck you up.
Which is, and that sort of surprised me in her career, that she hasn't gotten a franchise or a series of her own in that vein, because I think it's really something that plays to her considerable strengths, is that she absolutely could be a Captain Marvel. She could be, I mean, she voiced Wonder Woman for the last 10 years, I guess, on like Teen Titans.
Dare I say she'd be a better Captain Marvel?
I'm not. I like Brie Larson. I'm fine.
I think her temperament would be good, but it does bring up the bigger point that, like, she is a very well-rounded actor and can really tackle just about anything, from a drama to a pure popcorn flick to actually really caring. Lighter fare, like all the Marvel stuff, Defenders, Luke Cage. She was in every single.
She's the only one that was the carried over all of them. Yeah.
Matt and I have talked about this, and I know you agree with me. She might be the strongest actor in the Marvel small screen universe. The Netflix built. She elevates every scene she's in. It's effortless acting, but it's framed in these superhero stories. She always kind of grounded things right when you needed it to be.
Yeah, I think that her casting was definitely a great choice. But when it comes in, I think it's about halfway through that first season of Daredevil. Ooh, I mean, it's obvious. It's just good. Like, it brings the gravitas of like, oh, this shit's for real. Like, you know, and obviously, both within the story and also just figuratively looking at it and just being like, oh, they got Rosario Dawson. Mm-hmm. Again, she's also a big comic fan. She's apparently a huge nerd, and loves to do like video game work and that type of stuff, because she is kind of within that world. But that said, I mean, she's obviously a super talented actor.
And I love the cast of Daredevil, and I like a lot of the casting decisions Marvel's made. But like, she always, and I wouldn't say like scene stealing, but she was always the glue, because it was the most effortless example of acting. Whereas Charlie Cox is amazing. I don't want anyone else to ever play Daredevil or Matt Murdock for my money, but he's acting. And you know he's acting, whereas she's the night nurse and she just assumes a character, keeps things casual and realistic. And I think that it's more important than people give it credit for in that series. If she's not in Daredevil, it's not as good of a series, and I think it's significant.
Yeah, and she's also playing in small scenes, right? And that's kind of a harder thing to do. Is she's kind of, her role is stitched together throughout all of these shows in very small doses.
She is literally the glue when you think about it. Yeah, there's separate franchises too.
It's definitely hard to carry that across those properties.
So I remember this thing about I remember this very distinctly when she was getting this bigger profile around the time that Sin City came out, and she was Mimi Rogers in Rent, which I won't talk about anymore because we don't want to talk about that movie.
I did specifically want to ask you about that though. I'm sorry, and I don't want you to. So my question is, regardless of the movie, so Daphne, what's her name, that played
Vega.
Original Mimi, couldn't do the movie because she was pregnant. She couldn't shoot when they were shooting.
I mean, also.
Right.
She's supposed to play somebody who's like 16.
Okay. Well, they were all doing that.
They were all way too
character.
Old. Mimi's a great character. She did a fine job.
That was my question. Was
she
like,
given.
she's in a bad situation, but was she
There's
specifically
nothing wrong
bad?
there's nothing wrong with the characterization in Rent. There's nothing wrong with her performances in Rent. The entire aesthetic is wrong in Rent, and the entire approach to the material is wrong.
Well, that's why our next episode is on director Chris Columbus and the wonderful filmography.
I'll just spend the entire. I'll spend the entire episode slobbing his knob about the script to Gremlins.
There we go. Ben, would you be more upset to spend an hour talking about Chris Columbus or Chris Nolan?
I would love to actually talk about both of them because I don't think either is untalented, and I don't dislike either of them. I actually like both of them.
I was just laying that one out there.
I know. People, you guys give me a hard time. I hate fans of Chris Nolan more than I hate Chris Nolan, and I
consider myself hated.
I like Chris Nolan, and with Chris Columbus, I don't understand his career trajectory at all, and I don't understand the things he was hired for. But I'm amazed by some of the things he was able to do. So
interesting. He was hired. He was hired to find America, and he found America. Okay, I don't know why you want to give the guys.
But all I was saying is that she was in all these movies, and I still remember that I kept on seeing this trailer for like during like her before indie movies for This Revolution. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I actually ended up seeing it. It came out in 2005 around these movies, and they used the fact that she was in it as like clout. This was obviously like made for like $50,000. It was a passion project of this director. He knew Rosario Dawson. I think because he was an actor in Kids, and they had, like, kept their friendship up. But I found it so funny because basically what Nick, you'll love this. The premise of it is it's a photographer who's taking pictures. It's a drama about a photographer who's taking pictures of the mayhem and all the characters outside of the Republican National Convention in New York. And it's about these like sub stories that are happening. But what happens is while they were filming it, they were shooting it a block away from the actual Republican National Convention, and then they got arrested.
Oh, shit.
And so they kept running the cameras, and the last 15 minutes of the movie, the narrative stops and just turns into a documentary about all the actors getting arrested.
Wow. That's bizarre.
And it's super bizarre, and it's kind of interesting. And I remember watching it and just being like, I'm not sure I liked it. But it was ballsy of just being like an hour into the movie. All of a sudden they're just like, oh, wait, the movie's over. No, now we're just making a documentary about all of our actors and our entire crew getting arrested outside of the Republican National Convention.
That's crazy.
It's pretty insane. But I remember when they were marketing that movie, they were using the fact that this was like a passion project or whatever, and they were using, and it was like top billing for Rosario Dawson, and she's in the movie for like 7 minutes. But she is one of the until the end. She is one of the people at the end who is getting arrested.
No, and that seems to also be her. It seems to be a little bit of her niche as well. As she can play kind of lead and front and center, but she also is very good at just kind of popping in and out of a story and fitting in with that. And she's not necessarily one of the performances that's front and center, I would say, in the movie like Shattered Glass. But she's, you definitely feel her role.
You know who's front and center in Shattered Glass? Chloe Sevigny.
There we go. Oh my God, they're in the movie together. I completely forgot about that. God damn it.
Chloe Sevigny is like one of the main characters of that movie.
I think I just found my thesis. Was it the Kane Hackman theory from PCU?
Nice.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Both of them playing in various people in the newspaper writing room.
Sevigny worked for the Atlantic.
Oh yeah.
And she works for the the startup indie online newspaper that shuts everybody down with Steve Zahn. With those guys.
That's right.
Yeah. She's like one of the principal editors of that.
And I think for me, where I probably fell most in love with Rosario Dawson was definitely in Clerks 2, which I think is I think Clerks 2
Naturally.
And Zack and Miri.
Listen.
I think Clerks 2 and Zack and Miri Make a Porno are highly, highly underrated Kevin Smith comedies that I think really just I think the scripts in those and the laughs in them are really, really heartfelt and great. I don't think they get enough credit. But part of that is casting somebody like Rosario Dawson in something like Clerks 2, where she's bringing, she's definitely, I would consider that slumming for her as far as pretty much most everyone else in that movie. I mean, you're getting cameos from Ben Affleck and whoever else in it, but they're in it for 2 seconds. She's a big name.
But the interesting thing is, like, I don't really love Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I think that movie has a bunch of great characters, but I think ultimately as a narrative, it kind of fails. Like, it could have been a lot funnier, and it could have done it a lot better with the premise that it set up.
Well, I'm glad we're not talking about that today.
I love Clerks 2. I really do love Clerks 2. As a matter, like, it's one of my 4 favorite Kevin Smith movies, which is crazy.
Yeah, it really does, and it was one of those I went into it like very fearful. I'm just like I don't want to see Jeff Anderson and Brian Halloran in HD film, and like 20 years later, they're not real actors, they're not whatever. You know, it had every ability to absolutely fall on its face, and it really didn't. And I think there's a large part of that is due to her role with O'Halloran.
It seems like in all these movies, she's kind of a grounding presence, because the same thing is like you had these completely bizarre and sort of outlandish characters, and she feels totally real, just like this totally relatable, like the girl that you would fall in love with if you met her.
Yes,
you know, and I think that that's one thing that Kevin Smith is kind of good at, is that he always injects one character that is at least so relatable that it brings the movie back to earth just a little bit. And I think that she was kind of a perfect, based off of what she's done and her, you know, filmography since then. I think that it's a really good role for her.
Yeah, and I think she's kind of that, she has that geek side as well that I think listen, do we really buy that she's, you know, like that woman is dating Dante and like, you know, and really had a real in love with him? It's a bit of a stretch, but she sells it.
Dated Eric Andre in real life for like 3 months.
Yeah. For like a year. They got a year. And then she moved on to Cory Booker. And then she endorsed him for president until he dropped out. And then she went back to endorsing Bernie, who she endorsed the last election, which is sort of amazing. So that was one of the things
that is sort of like the "Can you hear me now?" Verizon guy.
I did have that in my notes for the intro for the bio. We got a little distracted,
I
but I did think that was really funny.
Did Cory Booker?
She's dating him right now. They're gonna get married.
Yeah, currently.
I had no idea.
Are they? I thought they broke up.
That's
they're
crazy.
together. I mean, unless like when she started, when she moved over back to Bernie on the 13th, maybe they broke up. But I don't know. She's been with Cory Booker for like a while, like a couple of years. And like she's super political, and she's super. It's also like big into LGBTQ community now, like a lot of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. But a little peek behind the curtain. Nick, do you have any roles that you really enjoy Rosario in, or roles? I mean, obviously, other than the Daredevil and kind of Claire, the night nurse.
Yeah, well, you know, let's stick to what I know. If I picked the actors, I would pick one that I've seen more than 2 films of.
You've seen Death Proof? Yeah, no,
but. No, I haven't seen Death Proof. I saw Sin City.
Okay.
I was trying to think of what I have seen. 25th Hour. I don't, and again, I don't think that you say Rosario Dawson and she's as tied to a character as Harrison Ford is. You either go Indiana Jones or Han Solo. There are some actors that you have that just defining role. I don't think she has a defining role. It doesn't mean that she's not been strong in literally everything she's been in. But she doesn't have a character that you want to scream out and shout, or a role even if I was better versed.
I do remember you liked one. I was gonna say, I know you and I saw the Lego movie, the Lego Batman movie, and I remember we talked about her Batgirl and Barbara Gordon a little bit, but
I already forgot that she was in that movie. Here's what I like about Rosario Dawson. She never phones it in. No matter what it is, you talk about you going back and forth from indie or slumming it or whatever your definition of that is. It doesn't matter what it was. It's always 110%, but it's also just effortless. I don't know if she's method or what, but everything that she's in, she seems. We've said it before. It's this grounding presence. It makes everybody else more believable in the cast. She's like that ultimate team player. If you're going to a sports analogy, there are these utility guys on baseball teams that are solid all the time, but they're not flashy. But they're great morale guys in the locker room. They make the team better just for who they are and just how they approach the game. And I think that's kind of her legacy so far. And I can't wait to see her in The Mandalorian. I hope they just let her off.
Sure.
I think that's going to be, I think that's awesome. And really,
I thought Ben was going to say something and I backed off.
No, I was agreeing with you.
I'll keep going. Do you have more?
That was it.
I think it's what's really interesting with her is that she really is strikingly beautiful, and she could very easily have just relied on that. And it seems like she actively does not take kind of the woman in peril or the hot girlfriend role. Like she's never really cast as the arm candy in any, even in the Spike Lee movies where she's playing kind of girlfriend, there's always like something going on behind it. It's not just like they're parading her out, which I think it's unfortunate. A lot of actresses do have to go and do that every so often in movies, just because that's sort of what Hollywood does. Rosario, on the other hand, does. It's hard to talk about this. I don't want to objectify it too much, but it is super fascinating to me. She is in a movie called Trance, which is really. I
was just going to say the one thing I was going to say is that in 1 year, in 2013, Rosario Dawson was in 2 movies. One was probably her most powerhouse, or like strongest performance, which was in Gimme Shelter.
Yeah. Where
she played Vanessa Hudgens' mother. And in that same year, she was in a movie where her vagina plays a pivotal plot role.
And Ben is not overselling that.
It's not.
Legitimately, there is a tracking shot, full frontal nudity, drawing attention to the lack of a merkin or any hair at all. That is literally like the Kaiser Soze reveal in the movie. It becomes a central plot point. I've never seen anything like it, and I cannot imagine. No, I mean I cannot imagine.
I know. I just checked my watch. It's 33 minutes into the podcast. We're going to bring that up 31 minutes in.
I
lost a bet.
No, I'm just also like, that is a ballsy, the wrong term to say ballsy in this situation, but that is a fucking ballsy thing to sign up for and be like, you know what? Yes. Like, and that the rest of the movie is a fucking great movie. It's an art heist with James McAvoy. It's a super fun, weird flick. I dug the hell out of it.
It was directed by Danny Boyle.
Yeah. It's again another like a really, really good another big time director that she's worked with. But it's really interesting. Like, that's a hard thing to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna let a camera just like run down my entire body because you have to see it because it's important to the plot. It's literally the only movie where nudity actually is important.
You're talking about giving her a franchise, a big franchise, while she's never been a big. Okay, while she doesn't have the pedigree in film, I don't think anyone would question she could carry a television series, a big tentpole television series. How about She-Hulk? Man, she'd be good at that. Lawyer by day.
I don't know enough about She-Hulk.
We also don't know if she's actually been offered to do something.
This is true.
Well, technically, if they're keeping the same actors for some of these roles, she could be coming back as the night nurse. So
we shall see. It'd be very interesting. Yeah, but that
would be great though.
Yeah, that is a crazy year of filmmaking for her. But I just remember watching it and being like, I can't believe this is an actual thing.
Because I read all these kind of mediocre reviews about that movie, about how it's like kind of middling. It's definitely not Danny Boyle's best, which it was ironic because he followed that up with 127 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to see it. And then you saw it and you were just like, don't want to spoil it for you. And you told me that bit, and I was just like, I'm watching this fucking tomorrow.
Listen, you got to get the audience in sometimes any way you can. But there was also was like a stretch. There was a stretch between like 2013 and 2016 where I followed McAvoy through some of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. Like he's another one of those actors that works constantly in all kinds of small and weird things that you probably haven't seen. We talked about Filth on here before,
which would make a great next topic for me to not have any input for.
We will let Nick pick the next. We'll let Nick pick the next actor or actress.
Next actor, we're doing 6 Degrees of Steve Guttenberg.
That would be short, but amazing.
How dare you? Short. Well, we also have to get into his directorial work. P.S. Your Cat is Dead.
Oh God,
Underrated indie comedy.
Wow. Well, things I didn't think were going to come up on the Rosario Dawson podcast. Steve Gutenberg, number one, front and center.
You don't know me very
with a bullet. Yeah, no, it is crazy. That was the thing I did. Ben kind of said as well. I'm like, yeah, she's been doing just a lot of voice work over the last several years. I mean, probably the highest profile thing she's really done has been the Marvel stuff, which I think she probably was kind of hoping would be a longer lasting thing. I mean, it ran pretty hot for 4 or 5 years. But
it seems like she has found a niche now doing just passion projects here and there and making her living by doing game work and TV work and voiceover work for cartoons.
I'd love her career. She's still, I think, definitely A-list, but not getting the attention or being hounded by paparazzi or she can. I mean, I can't speak for Rosario Dawson, but it just seems like she picks what roles she wants. She's going to work forever. She's a household name, and yet probably doesn't have the same headaches as the other A-listers.
I think A-lister is. I mean, that's a relative term. I think she's an A-lister as far as her talent and her filmography.
If my mom knows who she is, I think she's an A-list. I think that's rule of thumb.
But how much did you talk about her after Daredevil and get her in your mom's brain?
But nobody's gonna see something because Rosario Dawson's in it unless you're a fan of Rosario Dawson, in my opinion.
Except Ben
that's
just
why
fell.
Matt watched.
Yeah, that's why Ben watched Trance.
I watched Trance on your recommendation, motherfucker.
You watched Trance
because I'm a fan of Danny Boyle.
You were never going to watch that movie. Never. No, it's a listen.
It wasn't because you were, luridly explaining it to me. You're just like, it's literally a plot point in the movie, and I was like, oh, that's bizarre. You're like, no, it's the plot point in the movie, and I was just like,
it's like the guy who
kidding me.
It's like the guy who defends his Playboy subscription, saying he reads it for the article.
No, I swear to God. No, listen. If I told you to go see,
Nick,
if I told you that her nudity, if I told you that her nudity in Alexander was like plot driving, I would be lying and just saying no. Just go watch her, get naked in Alexander.
Well, I like that she doesn't give a fuck. I like that she can choose to do nudity because it as a central part of the plot. And I like that she can do nudity because she can just fucking do it.
She has
It doesn't get her pigeonholed because she's a great actor, and that is the greatest testament. Yep. When an actress does nudity, that is a big decision. A lot of them want to avoid it like the plague, or it's their only way in. And sometimes if you do it, it's the scarlet letter, and you don't work the same way ever again. I think she's
it's totally it is really fucked up. Like the whole.
You're just making me think of the line from.
What's the David Maine? State and Maine.
State and Maine, where he's just like, "What are you talking about? Everybody knows what it's like. You can draw from memory." She's right behind him.
I was thinking of that same thing. This is Sarah Jessica Parker. It's that line is always just always too fucking funny. But yeah, no, I think I think it's really looking at kind of everything that she's done on here, and there are even other little ones she did. We wound up talking about this like a couple podcasts ago. Eagle Eye, the DJ Caruso movie with Shia LaBeouf. She's a big part in that. She's always just kind of like propping up all of this good shit left and right. Which
her character's name was Cherry, right?
Cherry? Were you looking that up on? Did you pull that out of your
Eagle Eye Cherry?
Oh,
by the break of dawn, come tomorrow.
Listen, I'm not gonna. I won't argue with you guys, but I think her best work is as the female lead in NBA 2K20.
I did not know that was her.
If you play,
and Matt played that game for 15 hours a day.
If you play the My Career mode, which I have played, I played a lot actually.
Oh my lord!
Don't judge me.
Is that the one that was directed by Spike Lee? Is that why?
No.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Didn't Spike Lee direct the story mode in a NBA game?
Yeah, he did.
Didn't he get to say that a video game was his joint? I think they said like, NBA.
No, it
2K, whatever, a
it
Spike
literally
Lee joint
says a Spike Lee joint.
That's crazy.
in the video game. Yeah, he got a joint in the video game in the theaters.
Well,
it's kind of cool.
When we get to our Chris Columbus episode, we'll also get to talk about how she worked with him again in Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
You would think the vernacular would change from the big screen to the small screen to video games. Like,
no.
Wouldn't that be like it's a Spike Lee spliff or something like that?
God, I knew you were going to sound
like that.
very old and very white whatever you said. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was worried for you.
I think the kids are still saying spliff, aren't they?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Spliff. I was thinking for the dumbest possible,
Spliff. Hey, Nick, you got any grass?
Hey, let me get a puff of that devil's arugula.
Yeah. Oh, this is good grass. It's strong. Yeah.
Oh, my friend Mary Jane's coming over tonight.
Are you hey man, are you Holden? Is Holden Caulfield coming to the party? Are you William Holden?
Oh lordy. Well, I'm super happy.
They call me musical youth because I passed that Dutchie on the left-hand side.
And they told us we couldn't talk about a female actress for an entire episode without going off the rails. And we proved them wrong.
This is the reason why we always get kicked out of drug circles.
Oh, man. Poor Rosario deserves better than this.
Ben just grabs the spliff and runs. He grabs the spliff and splits.
No, I grabbed the Schlitz and splits.
Man, I'm just staring at this beautiful goddess of Rosario Dawson at the Bernie Sanders rally in Washington Square Park in April 2016. What would that Rosario have to say to you right now, Nick Santacroce?
I think she would dig it because
Washington State,
Washington Square Park, April 2016. She was at his rally.
Got it.
First off,
well,
she's
love her politics.
She's a nerd.
Her.
She would actually probably love us.
Yeah, I think that she would love me for sure. I don't know about you guys.
Touche.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
I mean, she is with Cory Booker. Cory Booker, Nick.
I would have been like, "Hey, Rosario, and this is my room. This is where the magic happens. Here are all my Daredevil toys. You were in that." Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's.
Maybe we can watch one of your other movies I've seen, like Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah. My friend Matt says it's vastly underrated.
Jesus.
Oh Lord. Well, we want to thank you so much for listening to this special edition of the New Wave podcast. We'll keep doing these every few episodes, give you a little bit of a shortened listen, so you don't have to listen to us just go off the rails like we did right now. We'll be back with another episode next week. So thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
And always the last one. Just I have to tell them to do it and then wait.
I think we should all say cheers at the same time. It's awkward by the time it gets to the third. Cheers.
3, 2, 1.
Cheers.
Cheers.
God damn it.
I wanted you to do it on yourself.
I'm sorry, Nick. We'll take it serious this time. Give us the countdown again. On one.
1,
2.
1, 2, 3,
cheers.
shoot.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Right.
1,
2. Are you kidding?
Who's
me?
counting?
Are you kidding me right now? I'm counting.
Okay.
I'm counting.
Okay. Nick's counting.
Okay, you're counting.
1, 2, 3.
Shoot.
Cheers.
Yeah, fuck you guys. You're gonna do it again.
All right, that's enough.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Fool me once.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.